Welcome to the latest instalment of the Britcar Dunlop Endurance E-Series, presented by Brabham Automotive. We're at Brands Hatch, where the big story from qualifying is that three-time race winner Will Powell is out after snapping the brake pedal on his rig. The racingrigs.co.uk start grid shows that qualifying was super close, Bobby Trundley just pipping teammate Andrew Tucker to pole position. Visit racingrigs.co.uk for some great deals on professional sim racing equipment. We're just about set then for the third round of the Britcar Dunlop Endurance E-Series presented by Brabham Automotive. This is the fifth race of the season. The red light's already on. Revs rise, lights go out, we get underway. Bobby Trundley and Andrew Tucker on the front row away well. A great start from Sam Brabham in the dark green. Brabham, he splits the pair of them though in the BT62. Into Paddock Hill Bend, Andrew Tucker out wide and through the gravel trap from the front row of the grid. More off in the background as well. And then into second place, Sam Brabham gets a tag. Jack Fabi coming together with him. They then both are passed by Scott Stevenson in the dark blue and white Brabham BT62. He goes second. And oblivious to all of this after a terrific start is Bobby Trundley, who leads the way at the end of the Cooper Straight for the first time and heading off onto the Grand Prix loop. Here is a replay of the start. Watch out for the second of the white McLarens. The team Britcar of Andrew Tucker was out wide through the marbles, through the gravel trap. He went. Then look at this battle for second place on the brakes into Druids. Maybe a tiny bit of contact there between Jack Fabi into the back of Sam Brabham. They delayed each other and Scott Stevenson went from fourth to second in the blink of an eye as we rejoin live. Just flashing through shot there was the blue and yellow Brabham BT62 of David Brabham, who I think, yes, has got past Ben Sharridge, so up to seventh place. He has got us up to seventh place, but he actually fell back off the start of the race from 7th to 8th, so he's back where he started now. It is Bobby Trundley that leads the way. Scott Stevenson in second place. Scott's a production and design engineer for Brabham, and he's joining us racing here from Adelaide in Australia. Third is Morgan Short. Fourth is Sam Brabham, despite the contact up at Druids. Fifth place, Isaac Rain has had a good start. Sixth place, Jack Fabi, also involved in the contacts up at Druids. Then seventh, David Brabham. Eighth, Ben Sharridge at the end of the lap. And we're looking at one of the battles in Class 2 here between the blue and white Raman Racing Porsche Cayman, which is Peter Spano, currently in 17th place, and Sarah Moore, the former Britcar Dunlop Endurance champion, just behind Peter Spano. And Raman Racing raise awareness for Diabetes UK, both on and off the track, and the livery on his Porsche Cayman here is a replica of the real-life Diabetes UK livery of his Ginetta G40. He's just lost the place though to another Ginetta. Sarah Moore got through on the way into Graham Hill Bend as we go back up the order to the battle for fifth place now. And this is Jack Fabi in the dark grey Praga R1T, trying to find a way past the Mac G Racing Glickenhaus of Isaac Rain. He's going to go side by side with him. He'll dive at the inside on the way to Westfield. He'll get through. The Glickenhaus staying with him on the exit to the turn. Isaac Rain, though, I think will have to concede the position, close the door to make sure he doesn't lose another place to the Brabham BT62. He was sideways there as he came charging out through Sheen Curve, but he has survived as they exit through Stirlings though. He's got David Brabham still breathing down his neck, so great little dice developing there already. Likewise, a good battle developing here for fourth in Class 2. The red and white Seat is Max Coates, and then the red and white Ginetta harassing him is being driven by Gemma Moore, younger sister to Sarah Moore, and she's making her Britcar E-Series debut here. Has had several seasons in the Junior Saloon Car Championship, was a race winner in that last year. And just behind them, you've got Darren Cook trying to fend off Jake Little in another pair of Ginettas. Ahead of them, the red, white and yellow Ginetta is being driven by Shane Stoney. The yellow Seat by Shields Bergstrom. And they're scrapping over second in Class 2 as they come into Graham Hill Bend. Shields from Milwaukee in the USA, 17 national racing titles to his credit. Started racing in the UK last year with the Woodard organisation Mini in the Classic Sports Car Championship, and he finished on the podium in his sim racing debut with us in the E-Series at Spa a couple of months ago. So this should be a good battle between those two. Back to David Brabham then, 6th place and only 0.6 seconds behind Jack Fabi. So last time we saw David, he was on the tail of Isaac Rain. He's found a way past the Mac G Racing Glickenhaus, and he's catching up now to the Praga R1T, the VR Motorsport driven car of Jack Fabi as they go towards the end of the Grand Prix loop, back into Clearways and then through Clark Curve towards the Brabham Straight to complete another lap. This is, of course, the former Grand Prix circuit. It's hosted 12 Grand Prix in the past, the last of which was back in 1986. We've got Darren Cook still ahead of Sarah Moore in this squabble for what is going to be 6th in Class 2, just over half a second between them. Just behind them, James Rainford in the blue and white Seat, whose son Charles is leading the category. James caught up in the melee coming out of Paddock Hill Bend at the start of the race. So Sarah Moore eating into Darren Cook's advantage on the brakes on the way into Paddock Hill Bend. Darren in the yellow and black Ginetta, run by Team Brit. He does lots of the videography and media work and filming for the Team Brit squad. Back then to 3rd place, and Morgan Short, who's had a good run of late in the Britcar E-Series. He finished 3rd in both of the races at Silverstone. He's running 3rd at the moment. He's not that far behind Scott Stevenson, but he's not that far ahead of Sam Brabham. Just about 1.1 seconds covering 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and less than that covering these two, 5th and 6th, Fabi and Brabham. So Jack Fabi in the Praga R1T, which in real life he's planning to race for the VR Motorsport squad in the Britcar Endurance Championship this year. He's doing a good job here. In real life, that car has something in the order of 600 brake horsepower per tonne. It's powered by a 2-litre Renault Sport engine and has extreme downforce, very quick through Paddock Hill Bend. But likewise, the Brabham BT62 is no mean machine, and these two very evenly matched at the moment. Brabham is slightly the quicker of the two. The gap is under 0.6 of a second now as they make their way out through Druids, downhill into the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend, onto the Coopers Straight. A little bit wide over the curbs there for David Brabham, so Jack Fabi should get the better run into the left-hander at Surtees. Back to the battle for 2nd place though, and Morgan Short in the Roll Centre Racing BMW. He's now all over the back of the Brabham BT62 of Scott Stevenson as they go through the right-hander at Hawthorne. Slight uphill run then in towards Westfield. It's single file through here. You've got to critically get a good exit though. There's not a good exit though for Stevenson. He goes over the curbs, goes onto the grass on the other side of the circuit and loses 2 places for the price of 1. So Short goes 2nd, Brabham follows him through and moves up to 3rd, and from 2nd down to 4th place goes Scott Stevenson. Meanwhile, about to exit the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, turn left and climb uphill through Surtees, is the battle for 6th in Class 2, and at the head of the group you'll see the white and blue Seat, the CCK Motorsport car of James Rainford, has sliced his way through all these Ginettas, so he's recovering well, having got tangled up in Andrew Tucker's accident at the start of the race. He's run a bit wide there coming out through Hawthorns though, but he'll survive. Sarah Moore is 2nd in the group in the red and white Tocqueville Motorsports Ginetta, that's 7th in class. Then it's Darren Cook trying to fend off Dave Farrow in the red EDF Motorsports Ginetta. Alan Remius in the GF Williams Lotus Evora is not far off the tail of the group, but Andrew Tucker in a more powerful Class 1 McLaren, who remember was on the front row of the grid. He's trying to come back past a lot of them as we go back to the battle for 2nd place, which has changed hands, look, because look, Sam Brabham in the dark green BT62 now ahead of the Roll Centre Racing BMW. So Morgan Short back down to 3rd place and under pressure from Scott Stevenson as they went off onto the Grand Prix loop. Now Darren Cook under all sorts of pressure here from Dave Farrow, who lunges up the inside on the way to Paddock Hill Bend. Late braking, a brave move, he goes through. With a better run than both of them though is the McLaren of Andrew Tucker up Hawthorns Hill, up the inside into Druids of Dave Farrow, but contact. They're both going to run out wide. Darren Cook is going to try and come back up the inside of them, and Alan Remius tags the back of Andrew Tucker as Andrew tries to get back on the racing line. Here's a replay. The McLaren up the inside of Cook, then tries to get 2 for 1. It doesn't work. There's contact between the McLaren and the Ginetta. They go out wide. There's entanglement there. And then as he comes back onto the racing line, Andrew Tucker is collected by GF Williams Lotus of Alan Remius. That's going to cost them all time, but they're well clear of the next car in the group, which is Peter Spano here in 19th place. He is trying to fend off Jake Little, who's got a better run, and he's going up the inside on the way into Westfield to gain the place. So Jake Little, who was up in about 12th place, I think, after a couple of laps of the race, disappeared down the order somewhere unseen, but he's now trying to fight back. He did that at Silverstone in one of the races and got through to 4th place right at the end of the first race at Silverstone. So Jake Little on the march again in the Ginetta. We're watching Max Coates though trying to get close to the tail of Shields Bergstrom. Last we saw them, they were the other way around. So Bergstrom is now 3rd and on for a podium. Coates down to 4th place in Class 2. Back to Jack Fabi in 5th place on the tail of Scott Stevenson. David Brabham has dropped back away from him a bit, so Jack Fabi going on the attack now. Fabi spent the last couple of years racing in things like the Michelin Clio Cup Series, the Creventic 24-hour race at Silverstone, in which he finished second in class back in 2017. And here he comes on the exit to Clark Curve. He's got the inside line. He's going to go through at Paddock Hill Bend. And that puts Jack now up to 4th place ahead of Scott Stevenson. Good move. It was well executed under the brakes at Paddock Hill Bend, but he really made it happen with that very good run that he got coming through Clearways and Clark Curve. He fends off the BT62 on the way out of Druids and now sets his sight on trying to catch Morgan Short in the Royal Centre Racing BMW. It was only just about 0.7 of a second ahead of him, so still some great racing to be had here, at least for the final spot on the podium. Sam Brabham is getting away from them in second, and Bobby Trundley is now 7.2 seconds clear of anybody else at the head of the pack, doing a terrific job. So we've got this squabble between Shields Bergstrom and Max Coates for third in Class 2. Into Paddock Hill Bend they go. Max Coates, who finished second in the Clio Cup with Team Hard last year, took 7 wins and 14 podiums on his way to the runner-up spot. He also finished second in the Clio International Finals a couple of seasons ago against a huge field of Clios from all sorts of different countries at Paul Ricard. And he's also raced in things like Ginetta Juniors. He's raced in the Porsche Carrera Cup GB. He had a one-off weekend racing at Croft a few years back in the BTCC, which is where he hopes to be again one day with the British touring car racer. He's going to be back on the Toka package when racing resumes this year in the Mini Challenge, which replaces the Clios on the Toka built. So he'll be racing here at Brands Hatch around the Grand Prix circuit for real in the not too distant future. And he's all over the back of Shields Bergstrom, but Shields is doing a fine job here of just keeping to the racing line, not inviting trouble, not making any mistakes, and keeping some nice tidy lines. On the way to Westfield, there's no doubt Max Coates is later on the brakes. He stays with Shields Bergstrom on the exit to the turn. Down and up through Dingledale, up through Sheen Curve they go, and towards this very tight left-hander at Stirling's. But easy to run wide here. You've got to get a good exit because you're not going to touch the brakes again for a long time, all the way up and down Dale through the Grand Prix loop, down towards Clearways as they rejoin the Indy circuit. Now look at this, Jack Fabi around the outside of Morgan Short. Can he hold on to it on the exit to Hawthorns? Yes, he can. So we just cut to that as they were changing positions, and Jack Fabi, he's now into a podium paying position, 3rd place in the VR Motorsport Praga R1. 4th place for Morgan Short now, 5th Scott Stevenson, and 6th at the back of the group, but very much within their sight now is David Brabham. So the BT62 driver, David, he won the first E-Series race at Spa, and he also took the BT62 to victory here at Brands Hatch, albeit around the Indy circuit, on its real-life racing debut at the end of last season. A very special moment for David because his father, the late great Sir Jack Brabham, had won the British Grand Prix at Brands Hatch some 53 years previous to that. Now they're coming up to traffic. Morgan Short is about to lap the Porsche Cayman of Peter Spano. So too is David Brabham. Oh, there's a tag, there's contact. Brabham spin off to the left. Half spin there for Morgan Short. Scott Stevenson gets through. Here's a replay. David Brabham trying to find a way through, and he just clipped the back of the BMW. He sped off to the left. Morgan Short got a half spin. He gathered it up nicely, and Peter Spano did well to avoid him. And Stevenson then has gone through to 4th place. Morgan Short down to 5th. David Brabham still 6th. Your race leader is in absolute clear air. He's nearly 10 seconds clear now, Bobby Trundley, having upgraded to this Team Brit McLaren 650S. He raced in a Class 2 Seat at Spa and Silverstone. Was a class winner at Spa. He was on the podium at Silverstone, but he's leading out right here and doing an excellent job. Meanwhile, Max Coates, look, is now ahead of Shields Bergstrom in the battle for the final spot on the Class 2 podium. That said, he's just been a bit ragged on the exit to Paddock Hill Bend. 2 wheels through the gravel trap, and Shields Bergstrom in the yellow Seat is going to be much closer to him when they come out of Druids. Here is your 3rd place driver, Jack Fabi, in the Praga R1T. He's less than a second now behind Sam Brabham in the British Racing Green BT62, and there's a load of traffic ahead, look. We've got Farrow first in the Ginetta. Sam Brabham's going to deal with him. Then he's going to come up to Sarah Moore in the top with Ginetta through Druid. Oh, he tags her, there's contact. Then Farrow collects her as he tries to recover it. But Sam Brabham then coming up to Gemma Moore and trying to show his nose, desperate to get through because he can see all the time, getting bigger and bigger in the mirrors, is the Praga of Jack Fabi. He's gone past Gemma Moore. Gemma Moore in turn is going around the outside, or trying to, of Darren Cook. Runs out of grip, runs out of road, and then he's lapped by the Praga of Jack Fabi, who's just trying to weave his way through all of that lot. It's always a nightmare when you are a race leader and you're coming up to lap a battling group like that, because they're so busy concentrating on themselves, not necessarily looking in the mirrors as much for the faster cars coming through. Here's a replay. Brabham was quite a long way back there, wasn't he? And Sarah Moore already into the corner. He just clipped the back right corner of the Ginetta. Dave Farrow had nowhere to go. He ran into the side of Sarah Moore. And although she recovered quickly, it has cost her a little bit of time now. So Darren Cook now at the head of this group, Gemma Moore behind, Dave Farrow and then Sarah Moore. And lost at least 2 or 3 seconds in all of that. Coming through them, look, is Morgan Short. But David Brabham oversteers, goes across the pit lane entry and onto the grass, and David Farrow off as well. Contact with the barrier on the inside, he goes to the outside. What went on here? Morgan Short up through the traffic. David Brabham, I think, went over the curb, just lost it. Then Farrow tried to get up the inside of Moore. There was a bit of squeezing going on. Into the wall went Farrow, and he just shot across the other side of the circuit. So it is all going off here on this last lap or so in both classes. Take a breath. Right, Bobby Trundley leads by miles. We know that much. He's nearly 14 seconds clear now. Sam Brabham is second, but he's about to come under huge pressure here from Jack Fabi as they climb uphill towards Hawthorns. He's gone through in the Praga and he's got himself now to second place. This is a fine drive by Jack Fabi. He's just been picking them off one by one over the last few laps. And the only one ahead of him now is the race leader, Bobby Trundley, in the McLaren. So Fabi, the former works development driver for the Tiger Racing squad, into second place now, ahead of Sam Brabham, who's third. We are watching Sarah Moore in the number 1, 2, 3 Top with Motorsports Ginetta. She's got the slightly checkered design on her roof, whereas Gemma's got a more plain livery on the roof of her car. Otherwise, they're near identical cars, those. And Sarah Moore trying to recover at the order. She's ahead of Darren Cook, so Darren's had a bit of a poor lap there for whatever reason, and Jake Little is ahead of that group as well, so he's trying to come back through the order after dropping back fairly early on in the race. So in terms of Class 2, I haven't seen him much, but Charles Rainford is leading it. He's already had multiple class wins when both of the Silverstone races in terms of Class 2. He's 10th overall. Shane Stoney is 11th overall and second in the class. Then it's Max Coates, Shields Bergstrom 4th, James Rainford 5th, and then that squabble that we've been watching going on for 6th place. Alistair Bolton was another one that got caught out at Paddock Hill Bend in the melee on lap 1, and I'm afraid he's a lap down now in the other Praga, the bright purple machine that we just watched. And Andrew Tucker has had a couple of leery moments. It's not the race he was hoping for, this, having qualified on the front row of the grid. He's down in 22nd spot. Driver's trying to catch, a long way ahead of him as well. He's there, Peter Spano, who's got the track to himself at the moment. Alan Remius has been in the wars a little bit as well up at Druids, as we saw a few laps ago. He's in 20th place, but not far behind Dave Farrow, who we saw clattering into the pit lane wall and then across the other side of the circuit, going onto the Brabham Straight on the previous lap. He's recovered, but he's lost an awful lot of time, and he's now about 6 seconds down on Darren Cook and Sarah Moore ahead of him. Still looking pretty quick though is Dave Farrow, and he's had some good E-Series races with us so far, in the top 6 in class in both of the races at Silverstone. So the Red EDF Motorsports Ginetta trying to catch back up in the remaining 11 minutes of the race. You're looking at Darren Cook then, who directed and released his first feature film at the end of last year, Lucas and Albert, which has been getting lots of plaudits and quite a bit of notice online as well on various streaming services. So Darren, who is very talented behind the camera, also doing a pretty good job here in this sim race. He's falling back though from the two Moore sisters. They're 16th and 17th overall. They're trying to get themselves back into the top 6. To do that, they're going to have to close quite a big gap now to Jake Little, who's the next driver ahead of them in 15th place overall. Gemma ahead of Sarah for the time being. There is Jake Little, who is 6 odd seconds behind James Rainford. James is in turn about 11 and a half seconds behind the yellow Seat of Shields Bergstrom there, and Shields is falling back away now from Max Coates. It was a couple of seconds slower on that lap as well. So Max Coates here, coming through the right-hander at Druids, suddenly looking much more secure and on course for his first Britcar E-Series race podium. The red, yellow and white Ginetta is Shane Stoney, who's already been on the podium in the E-Series. He's the current Radical SR1 Cup champion and a former Cooper Class champion in the Mini Challenge. There, though, is the Class 2 leader, switching to a yellow livery for this weekend. Charles Rainford, who won both of the races in terms of his class by a long way at Silverstone last time out. Alex Day is ahead of him, 9th place, and currently at the tail end of the Class 1 cars. I think he got caught out possibly on the first lap as well. But Alex looking pretty rapid now in the Mercedes. Then we've got David Brabham in 8th place. He's just lapped the two Moore sisters, who are really close together, like here in those two top with Ginettas. Gemma still just about fending off her big sister Sarah. Right, this is the MacG Racing Glickenhaus, the yellow machine of Ben Sharridge, who's in 7th place, having a relatively calm race. He's not that far behind his teammate Isaac Rain in the second of these yellow beasts. Isaac, who's had some good runs so far in the E-Series, now sponsored by Overclockers UK, who provided him with a discounted PC, which should help rectify some of the freezing problems that he's experienced so far. Caused him to crash at Silverstone at Brooklands in race 2 when his computer froze. He's going much better now. He's got the proper kit and he's in 6th place. Sam Brabham 5th, and you're looking at Morgan Short in 4th place, but he's now nearly 7 seconds away from a podium from Scott Stevenson in the best of the Brabham BT62s. There is Jack Fabi, 2nd place. But since he got past Scott Stevenson, he's not really pulled away from him that much. Scott doing a good job here, as well as his design work for Brabham Automotive. Stevenson is a real-life racer. He was runner-up in the 2015 South Australian Circuit Hyundai XL Championship. Has raced in things like Formula Ford and Aussie racing cars. Has been to Bathurst as well in a 6-hour race there. So he's doing a good job here in his first E-Series adventure, and currently on for a podium finish. And maybe even a 2nd place if he can get back onto terms with Jack Fabi. Certainly not very far away from him, just about 7/10 of a second between them. In the graphic, you can see that Andrew Tucker's started to make his way back up the order. He's just got past Alain Remias and Peter Spano, so back to 19th place for Andrew Tucker. We're now looking at the Moore sisters. Gemma still ahead of Sarah here. Gemma with the green and white roof, the red and white roof for Sarah. And at the moment, it looks like Gemma has got the measure of her sister, Sarah, who was a front runner in the W Series, the International Single-Seater Championship last year. Although Sarah's got a better run there, I would say, coming out of Stirling. So as they come towards the end of the Grand Prix loop, it might start to hot up a bit here, and it could get a bit tasty on the way into Paddock Hill Bend. Not that far behind them is Darren Cook as well, who's starting to come back on terms with these two. So they're currently, 7th and 8th in class, going into Paddock Hill Bend. Slight uphill braking zone there. You cannot see the apex of the corner at all when he's that low slung in a racing car. So it's a real leap of faith through what's one of the best corners in, well, not just British, but world motorsport. That through Druids, down into the unnervingly tricky left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. Tight left-hander, tightens up. You've got to be careful not to run wide there and go over the curbs and go onto the grass. Back to Isaac Rain then, currently 6th, 4.5 seconds behind Sam Brabham. Best result so far for Isaac was actually the first race of the series at Spa, where he finished in 5th place. Although he got tangled up at the start of that race, had to come from a fairly long way back. He had a really good run to get back into 5th position. He had a pretty good run in at Silverstone as well, finishing 7th. Or as I say, he had a bit of a glitch with the car. That was Max Coates again, understeering on the exit to Paddock Hill Bend, so Isaac Rain is able to lap him with no problems on the way up Hawthorns Hill into Druids. Max, though, is now 12 seconds clear of Shields Birchall, so Shields really started to drop back on the last few laps of the race. So Max still looking good for that 3rd spot. Here's Dave Farrow in the red EDF Motorsports Ginetta, really flying past the Porsche Cayman of Peter Spano. Now he's a bit wide on the exit to Westfield to come up towards the left-hander at Stirling's though, and he's got the job done. So good move that from Farrow, but he's still looking like he's going to miss out on the top 6 finish here after his big moment coming out of Clearways just a few laps ago. Right, so head down on the accelerator. He slides the back end of the Ginetta though, noses into the barriers on the inside, and he's passed by 1, 2, 3 cars. All that work undone as Andrew Tucker, Peter Spano and Alan Remias all get past him. So frustrating race this for Dave Farrow, who had a really good couple of runs at Silverstone last time out. Here's a replay. Yeah, just understeered. Just got 2 wheels over onto the grass. and then it snapped, oversteered into the barriers on the inside. He scraped along them, got back on track, but by the time he'd done that, in the blink of an eye, he'd lost 3 places. There's your race leader, Bobby Trundley, 21 seconds clear now, proving to be a terrific sim racer. He was pretty impressive in his kart racing pedigree as well. Diagnosed with autism from an early age, and he found motorsport really had a hugely positive effect on the way he was able to cope with that condition, and has become a member of Team Brit now, who do fantastic work. Dave Player's team helping to inspire people with disabilities, PTSD, mental health issues by really showing positivity through involvement in motorsport and racing. So terrific to see the Team Britcar at the head of the field. The McLaren 650S with just over 3 minutes to go now. Hugely impressive. He was only just a fraction quicker than 2 or 3 other cars in qualifying, but he has just got it completely together in this race. Has been consistently quicker than everybody else, and he's got the track to himself at the moment, having gone through quite a bit of traffic on the last few laps. So that's your race leader, Bobby Trundley. We're going to get back to this battle between Gemma and Sarah Moore for what will be still 7th in class, 0.7 of a second between them. And now this is a great view. This is on board your 2nd place man, Jack Fabi. You're looking back to the 3rd place BT62 of Scott Stevenson, a couple of seconds behind him. We switch then to the forward-facing onboard camera, looking over the front left wing on the way into the left-hander at Surtees. Climb up now, careful not to run wide. The track sort of tightens up here as you go onto the Grand Prix loop. Charging then down towards Hawthorns, goes down into a valley. It's actually a slightly uphill braking zone before you go into the right-hander, and then you exit there. Try and get on the power as quickly as possible. A short squirt, and then it's on the brakes and turning right through Westfield in 4th gear. Feathering it then as the circuit falls away from you through Dingle Dell. Fantastic piece of tarmac through the right-hander at Sheen Curve, named after the late great motorcycle world champion Barry Sheen. Into the left-hander at Stirling's in 3rd gear. On the gas, nice fluid driving that from Jack Fabi as he heads towards Clearway's Clark Curve and the conclusion of another lap, and he's now 3.5 seconds clear of Scott Stevenson. So on that lap he's pulled about a second clear as we've been riding on board with him in the VR Motorsport run at Praga R1. So on the way into Paddock Hill Bend for Jack Fabi. We've got probably time for just about one more lap at the end of this one. I think Bobby Trundley is going to get to the finish line with about 14 or 15 seconds to spare. So penultimate lap of the race this, I reckon. Time running out for Sarah Moore to try and find her way past Gemma Moore here in this squabble that's been going on for some time between the pair of them. Going a little bit wide to try and just carry the momentum through the right-hander at Hawthorns into Westfield. Defensive line on the curbs for Gemma Moore, staying ahead, nosing ahead here. Sarah, though, carrying a bit better momentum as they went through Dingledale into the right-hander through Sheen, into the left. Oh, that's Alex Day's Mercedes parked up and has stopped. So Alex Day from inside the top 10 has stopped. They go past him to unlap themselves. Sarah Moore still cannot find her way past Gemma as they come to the end of the Grand Prix loop and rejoin the Indy circuit at Clearways. Gap between them now just over a car length as they come towards the completion of this lap. Bobby Trundley's gone through, so he is about to start the last lap of the race. These two go through, 8 seconds left on the clock. Gemma Moore again nice and tidy through Paddock Hill Bend, on the climb through Hawthorns into Druids. She's going to hold the racing line. She's not going to leave a gap. She's not going to entice her sister at the inside. Although, oh, she slows coming out of Druids. Disaster. What's happened there? A problem with the car. She had a fuel maybe. Oh, that is heartbreaking. What a scrap that was. There was no driver error here. It was all looking good through the apex. On the exit, it's pretty good. And then suddenly, look, the car slows. Round the outside goes Sarah Moore. She's already started to drop down the order, so I doubt she's going to get to the end of the race now. That is a huge shame for Gemma Moore after an impressive debut. Here's your race leader, though, on the final lap here at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Flames spitting at the back of that McLaren 650S. One more time, he has to negotiate the left-hander at Stirling's. Just runs over the curb. He's going to win by over 21 seconds here. It's going to be the biggest winning margin yet, I reckon, in the Britcar E-Series. He comes out of Clearways And the winner of round 5 of the Britcar Dunlop Endurance E-Series, presented by Brabham Automotive, is Bobby Trundley. Crosses the line, he takes the checkered flag, he is a race winner. Perfect drive that. Jack Fabi looks like he's going to come home in 2nd place, but look, Sam Brabham's suddenly shot up to 3rd, Morgan Short to 4th, Isaac Rain to 5th, and Scott Stevenson has plummeted down to 6th place right at the end of the race. Jack Fabi crosses the line then to take 2nd spot. And there's Sam Brabham, but he's got, look, Morgan Short all over him. And then Short into the back of the BT62, which is slow coming out through Clark Curve. There's a 2nd piece of contact into the barriers this time for the BT62. And out of nothing, Morgan Short has snatched 3rd place. Well, look how slow the Brabham was coming out through clearways. It almost ground to a halt. To be fair to him, Morgan Short had nowhere to go. He went into the back of the BT62 twice and got through to 3rd place. So Isaac Rain's got 4th, that's his best result so far in the E-Series. Ben Sharridge has just crossed the line for 5th, likewise his best result. And David Brabham's just gone past his son to claim 6th spot. Real frustration for Sam Brabham. It was out of fuel, that car, that was the problem. So problems for him and Scott Stevenson right at the end of the race, dropped them both off the podium. Charles Rayford is going to win Class C2. This is the squabble for 5th place in the class. Jake Little all over the back of James Rainford. We saw Jake at Silverstone snatching a place right at the end of the race. I don't think he's quite going to do it this time though. It's not for the want of trying, but the Seat will just about hang on to 5th in class as they cross the line. Confirmation of the results then. Bobby Trundley takes the victory from Jack Fabi and Morgan Short in Class C2. It's the 3rd win on the trot for Charles Rainford. Shane Stoney comes home 2nd. Max Coates completes the podium. Well, an eventful race here at Brands Hatch. Join us for race 2 for the Britcar Dunlop Endurance E-Series, presented by Brabham Automotive very soon. Thanks for watching.